Hi, my name's Chris Osbyrne and this is my cinematography evidence film for Specialist Workshop 4. In this video, I will sort of be breaking down everything that I've learned in my third year of cinematography specialism and demonstrating with examples how I can achieve certain cinematic looks. At the start, I was a little on edge as we were still in the phase transitioning from SW4 lessons, which were unfortunately quite badly affected by COVID-19. It meant last year that we had hardly any hands-on time with the new equipment, and it left us feeling a little unprepared when it came to doing filming for my second year film, Dissonance. The lack of hands-on practice time shows in the final film, but in a way, this has motivated me to work even harder this year and make the most out of all the studio time and getting to use all the new camera gear and returning to cinematography lessons. I decided I would get as much as I possibly could out of studio time with new camera gear when returning to cinematography lessons, knowing that lessons could be affected again by lockdowns and staff shortages. The first few lessons, we learned how to set up and configure the new Cine cameras. These cameras were the Arri Alexa Classic, the SXT, the Sony f5 and 55, and the Canon C300 Mark II. I learned about why a DOP might opt for one camera rather than the other, and what kind of conditions a certain camera might behave better in. For example, the Sony cameras are very versatile cameras. Each perform very well in low light and in terms of noise, and they also have a strong high dynamic range. The Sony can also shoot high frame rate up to 120 FPS and 4K RAW externally through a Blackmagic recorder. However, the Sony cameras in my opinion suit more of a documentary style of filmmaking. The look that each of the Arri Alexa cameras to me feels more cinematic because of its softer look and the Arri's famous colour science that almost matches the certain look of 35mm film stocks. I also much prefer the ergonomics of the Arri cameras with their large buttons and easy settings interface, which I practiced with on this website here. Lighting was also one of my favourite parts of the module, as we were moving on to use some of the much more advanced equipment that we didn't have a chance to use last year. These included the Kino Flow LED panel, the Arri HMIs, and the dado lights. Lighting is an aspect of filming I always favour, as you can be really creative in shaping it. With the gear we can use this year, the possibilities are sort of endless. To test a little extra, me and my friends booked some studio time to test the lights a little more. We decided to do a moody, very dramatic fireplace scene. I think this shot came out very nice, with the warm fireplace colours coming from the key light and the daylight Kino Flow being used as a fill. I think removing one colour from the light pattern on the Kino Flow would have helped, as it creates some artifacting when you look at it up close. The shot was enhanced by the use of a push-in movement on the tracks. We learned about using tracks and dollies in our grip workshops, which I found also quite fun. It's an aspect of filmmaking I'm not really interested in pursuing much further, but I'm glad to have given it a try, and to see how integral being a grip is on set. I struggled with doing grip, because I was regrettably pretty overly cautious when it comes to safety. Things were really heavy and I was worried that I would injure myself. I wish I'd given it more of a chance, and maybe have been able to have gotten some work outside of uni doing some grip rolls. For me, one of the most useful practical aspects of SW4 was doing fake pickup shots for films that already exist. This allowed us to recreate shots from some of our favourite films, as well as match the lighting and the movement. Here is an example of a setup we did to recreate a famous scene from Steve McQueen's 2008 film Hunger. It's a simple two-shot with a wide angle of two characters, one an imprisoned IRA member and the other a priest, and they're both sat at a table talking about the morality of the prisoner starving himself for his cause. In the film, the shot holds for 17 whole minutes with no movement and creates a lot of tension. It immerses the audience into the room and makes you feel almost like a fly-on-the-wall observer. It's really powerful. Doing some research on this film, I read that the DOP, Sean Bobbitt, had to create special magazines for the film to feed through so the camera could continually roll for 17 minutes in each take. This is because most film magazines can only hold roughly about 10 minutes worth of film in most cases. Shortly after finishing the main lessons for SW4 and passing my important lighting safety test, I was lucky enough to film a TEDx talk on sustainability for Leeds Beckett. This was a fun project to be a part of, and it was a very simple 3 Canon DSLR setups. One issue I ran into when filming this project was having to transfer footage to our DIT after every speech and then formatting the cameras every single time as well, due to the very small size cards I was provided. This slowed down the whole process and caused me some stress, but the overall result I think was very successful from what I have seen. I've also been working hard on my personal photography and composition where I can find the time outside of university. Concentrating now on my final graduation film, there were a couple of hurdles I had to go through before I found the role I currently have now. I actually began pitching for my own films at first, one drama and one experimental, in hopes of being the main DOP for my own project. These unfortunately didn't make it through the voting process, but luckily I had left options open for working on other films, as I had already read a couple of the other scripts. I pitched for DOP roles on 4 films, the 2 main ones I wanted to work on being The Sin Eater and Shroom Baby. I created 2 PowerPoint presentations with lots of reference images and camera specifics, so I could sell my vision for each of the films to my absolute best. Both have a very gothic, chiaroscuro look to them, especially Shroom Baby, which is replicating the black and white photography of films in the 1950s. I talked about movement, lenses, as well as ideas for highly stylized lighting setups, such as recreating this iconic shot from Dracula 1931, where just a small line of light illuminates his eyes. Luckily, my vision seemed to match both of theirs. However, during the end of my pitch for The Sin Eater, the director mentioned wanting to make the film using 16mm film cameras. Personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable making my graduation film using 16mm film cameras, as I've never shot professionally on film. I've only ever done some tests on 8mm cameras and film photography, so I feel like there'd be too much of a risk there. So in a way, I was glad that I wasn't offered DOP on that film, and was very pleased to be working as cinematographer for Shroom Baby. Being cinematographer means I have full responsibility for the final look of the film, so extensive pre-production and planning has been a crucial part during this phase of creating the film. Working close with the film's director and first AC, we created a storyboard using images from the internet. I tried to find perfect matches for what shots I had envisioned, but some of the shots on here are slightly off, may need to be sketched or researched further down the line of production. I recently filmed the director's assessment for Shroom Baby, which I think was very successful. The lighting setup was very simple, with 2 Kino flows creating soft top light over each of the actors, and 1 LED cob light to work as a backlight. My only criticisms are that we could see the light stands in each of the shots, which just required a bit more time getting the right angle for the shots. However, this is a director's assessment, and the focus is more on the directing of the actors rather than the actual look of the film. I can't wait to film Shroom Baby in March and see where my refined cinematography skills take me in my professional filmmaking career. Thanks for watching.